Hello? If a cat were to wield a sword, how would it do it? Like this? Or this? Maybe even like this? And for what purpose would a cat use a sword anyway? For evil? Good? The following 3-part docu-series aims to uncover the mystery behind these questions and more by following the paw prints of a cat and her obedient weapon slave, the death of a man, and his subsequent reincarnation into a fantasy world. He is shook if a sword can be shook. God speaks in a sensual booming voice, wishing him best of luck. Sword-kun reflects on being reborn and the relative tropes associated, immediately figuring out how to open his stats. Looks like he is a legendary weapon with self-recovery and telekinesis. Unfortunately, some little freaks get frisky with his solid metal bod. Extermination is the only solution to this, and the goblins are obliterated by our protagonist's telekinetic moves. He finds that cutting up their crystals gives him the gamified experience he needs to level up, and he explores the interface. Sword-kun also orgasms from consuming their essence, but I'm sure we would all do the same given the circumstances. He gains the skill Dig, promptly buries the slain freaks, then laments the tragedy of being a sword without a wielder. Nevertheless, having reincarnated with the ability to power scale infinitely, the best option going forward would be to grind stats. Under the same rainbow moons, there is a cat, a slave, who yearns for the strength to resist being hit with rocks. Sometime later, Sword-kun does battle with a tentacle ravioli, acquiring new skills and an evolution, which allows him to permanently increase his base stats. He laments his loneliness, begging for praise from God, who does not answer his pleas. Even more later, a local goblin lair is assimilated into Sword-kun's arsenal of assorted abilities, notably magic, which he gets from this diminutive wizard, and weapon mastery, which allows his future wielder to instantly become a proficient swordsman upon wielding him. He reflects on becoming an excellent sword and flies off to presumably massacre more wildlife. The Catgirl does a sick hero move, but fails under the oppressive weight of fantasy slavery. The next day, she is made fun of for belonging to a race which can't evolve and attempts violence, failing again. She still yearns for strength. Speaking of which, Sword-kun has been doing battle with some actual formidable foes, requiring the employment of clever strategies through the use of his skills. Here are some more beasties he slayed, and now a booger is his next prey. Easy peasy for a lemon squeezy like Sword-kun. Instant regeneration and dimensional storage acquired. Very useful. He kills a snake and gets the ability to summon a nude man too, but this isn't helpful. This rock is aggressive, but no match for Sword-kun. Same with this cat, which he poisoned to death. After having killed all the strongest animals in the area, Sword-kun moves on to find more. However, the ground slurps up all his magic juice, suctioning him to the floor. 3 days later, and he is still stuck, hoping for a passing elven princess to whisk him away. After a month, anyone will do. Beastore man, whom or whatever will get the job done. He levels up his cooking skills in panic, but to no avail. It begins to rain, a metaphor for Sword-kun's desperation. Meanwhile, Catgirl and her caravan of living commodities are attacked by a large bear. The slaves are all commanded to sacrifice themselves while their owners flee. Fortunately, their magic collars are disabled after the sudden evisceration of said owner. Unfortunately, there is still a bear, which the Catgirl valiantly strikes with a stick. She once more, perhaps for the final time, pleads for the strength to fight back. It's Sword-kun. The Catgirl figures it's now or never and latches onto him, allowing them to communicate through contact telepathy. She is shook, but now isn't the time. Her feeble build struggles to wrest Sword-kun free from the earthen prison, but upon doing so, she is registered as a wielder and obtains a variety of helpful skills, metamorphosing into a formidable being. Now, as an unstoppable force of divine nature, the Catgirl sword combo saves the day. She thanks him and attempts to put Sword-kun back. However, the job isn't done yet, and the remaining slaver arrives to appraise his losses. Our Catgirl cannot legally disobey his orders, but Sword-kun is unbound and kills the villain instantly, incinerating the pathetic contract in a quick burst of flame. The Catgirl is speechless with gratitude, then expresses such briefly. Sword-kun offers to be wielded by her and is instantly accepted. To fulfill the wish of her parents to evolve and combat the pesky racist limitations, the Catgirl is determined to gain strength and forcefully evolve. So the pair are sword and wielder and introduce each other, taking some time to figure out what their names are. Fran, the Catgirl, and Teacher, the sentient sword. Off they go, on the quest to evolve the little Catgirl into a big Catgirl? Goblins? Teacher explains how black cats don't seem to be able to evolve like the other Beastkin races, then transitions to obliterating goblins. Fran has a pretty good sense for killing things. Later, she lovingly rubs her sword, but suddenly senses something dire, causing her to sprint off. It's a merchant wagon under attack by some silly goobers who are easily diced into pellets, except this one, which got away and totally won't be a problem later. Teacher quickly instructs Fran to not reveal that her sword is sentient, and the merchants humbly offer their transport services in exchange for protection along the way. This carpet briefly does a sneaky racism. Anyway, this area of the world has been going nuts recently due to territorial disputes amongst the beasts living here. Teacher seems to have caused the total collapse of the local ecosystem with the genocide of all the apex predators. Putting that aside, the merchant inquires about Fran's adventurer's rank, of which neither she nor Teacher were aware existed. The carpet does another secret racism upon hearing this. Monster rankings are explained in standard isekai fashion. Then Fran is informed about the Guild of Adventurers, which piques her and Teacher's interest. Carpet does a third racism, but this time is overheard. Later, Fran dreams about Teacher's incredible cooking skills as he reflects on how young she probably is. The escaped goblin from earlier tells his mom, who promptly gives birth to a few more goblins, then grows several more eyeballs to celebrate. This is the city of Elissa. They decide to make their first stop be the Adventurers Guild. On the way, Teacher analyzes the competition, finding that his attack power is pathetic in comparison. Fran cheers him up with her kind words though. At the guild, the receptionist experiences homicidal ideations directed at the hooligans surrounding her. Suddenly, a little cat who wants to be an adventurer. The receptionist presses X to doubt a few times while explaining the entry exam, a mock battle with one of the big boys. Here he is, the great and powerful deranged. He pulsates with intimidation. Fran doesn't flinch though. Instead, she and Teacher engage analysis mode and peep his stats. Deranged is formidable to be sure. Nevertheless, this is an important exam and the test begins. Donatello teleports around with incredible speed. However, Fran was born a cat and has a cool sword, which certainly helps. Teacher allows her to deflect the whirlwind hot dog's giga strikes and slow the momentum caused by them. Deranged pauses to receive Fran's offensive, which gives Teacher the chance to increase her base strength and agility stats. Before the battle continues, Fran lands a hit. However, deranged don't stop for nothing and causes the ground to do his bidding. Unfortunately for Donald, Teacher is fluent in ground and conjures grabby hands, following up with a multicast high-level fire spell. Fran picks up the rebound with a lightning-infused thrust attack, sending Big Boy out into Mother Nature and almost sautéing the receptionist, who is awestruck with Fran's divine strength. They pass the exam. Later, the guild master, Climp Biscuit, a suspicious fellow, scolds Dongle for losing and questions how a little girl of 12 can just mysteriously show up out of nowhere with incredible powers, the like of which this millennia has never seen. Fran ain't no snitch though. Clam uses magic. It is ineffective. Despite this, Fran passes due to the spirits not freaking out over her presence. Teacher takes a look at the guild master's stats. Then they go get a guild card from this helpful irradiated rock. Fran becomes a spell sword, even though she could have miraculously become any of the classes offered. Celebration. Now to procure funds for food and shelter, they discreetly empty the contents of Teacher's dimensional storage by pretending the sea of corpses came from a small pouch. A sale's a sale though, and cash money is obtained, like $300 billion worth. The receptionist introduces herself as Nell, and they become instant friends. Not so fast, says the band of hooligans, who want to rob her of the spoils before she even exits the building. Teacher reflects on their obstinate racism. Nell puts the criminals to bed with a lecture on how to properly butcher a monster, then tells them to die. She's attacked, however, and Fran takes over the conversation. Words no longer have meaning after the goons sullied their use with their filth, and Fran promptly repeatedly severs her opponent's feet with her razor-sharp aura. The other freaks are disposed of, and the guild celebrates their removal. Nell attempts to charge them for the mess they instigated, while none of them can physically move. As the fated pair exit the building, an old man with pink eye perceives the speckle of an intelligent weapon hiding from within those wrappings. France is impressed with the ferocity of this huge sentient being and the accoutrements offered by the local merchants. Suddenly, Dr. Pink Eye arrives to invest in Catgirls. It's Garrus, the exact legendary blacksmith they were looking for. He was impressed with her moves earlier, insisting that he only sells to adventurers worthy of his equipment. Fran is pleased and gets a freaking adorable little dress imbued with a ton of cool shiz. Fran is pleased twice over. However, teacher feels inferior being around such high quality swords and wishes to have a closer look. Gargles takes the opportunity to properly out teacher as an intelligent weapon, causing Fran to defensively leap across the room. He's a homie though, and reveals his special move to them, God Sight, which is like 2012 Google before the algorithm reworks. Garrus comments on teacher's radiant power, who telepathically demeans himself. The grizzled blacksmith is not pleased and explains the concept of mana conductivity. Imbuing mana into a sword increases its attack power. Teacher has a high level of mana conductivity, so he receives double attack power per increment of mana volume. To demonstrate, he saws this boat in half. Teacher is shook and now more self-confident than ever. Fran and him share a heartwarming moment together. Then Garrus inquires about Sword Kun's origin, of which he doesn't really know. Garrus figures that Preacher must have been created by a divine smith, as they would likely be the only beings capable of forging Teacher, who bows to his imagining of Ignis, a legendary sword made by them. Since Fran doesn't need another sword, they settle on ordering a sheath, which prompts Teacher to envelop Guppus in a torrent of assorted monster giblets. Garrus is aroused and offers to exchange all the gubbins for equipment upgrades. They get the ETA of their scabbard and armor upgrade, then peace out. Time to purchase underwear suitable for a small cat girl. This lady takes up the oh-so-great burden of dressing Fran in various adorable fashions, and they proceed to find cooking equipment. This big man sells an assortment of random household goods. Teacher is elated by the wide selection. Once they find and check into the inn, Fran celebrates the tides of fortune swelling over her after encountering Teacher. She is thankful, and in turn, Teacher vows to help her in every way he can. Later, fried chicken is created, partaken of, relished, and they move on to discussing business. Teacher and Fran both decide that he should spend his points on healing magic, like the great and powerful Donald used during the entrance exam. While boffing into oblivion on statistical optimization, Fran checks out and is compassionately tucked into bed. Somewhere in a cave, goblins have gathered. The next day, Fran gains experience as a G-rank adventurer, doing menial tasks in the forest. She finds no pleasure in picking flowers, however. The sound of battle call to Frank as a siren's song would assail her. Boblins attacking a frail group of adventurers. Fran goes ahead and saves their lives, setting the forest ablaze. After putting that out, she makes quick work of the stragglers, leveling up in the process and fertilizing the soil with their corpses. She also fixes up the damaged people, who are thankful. Hobgoblins are an omen of a goblin stampede, unfortunately, which means a goblin king is out there patrolling the mean streets. The adventurers explain that this could lead to devastating consequences and quickly flee to grab extra homies. A call for backup sounds through the trees. Fran lusts for blood and wishes to destroy the reinforcements. Now uninhibited from protecting the plebs, she gets rocked some, but it's a trivial matter, and the level ups pile up like the devastation in her wake. Fran begins to weaken as the goblins continue to amass and implement strategy. She is struck with an arrow, but bears no thoughts of retreat. In order to grow stronger, Frank insists that she endure difficult battles such as these and charges forward, while Teacher contemplates on her determination to commit to her goal of evolving. With this inspiration in mind, the pair battle through till sunset until the forest is more corpses than trees. Later, Fran returns to Garrus to get an emergency repair in preparation for engage flashback, clearing this dungeon they found while tracking stragglers. The adventurers she found came up with reinforcements, were told about the dungeon, and in turn insisted that Fran report to the guildmaster and take a chill pill. Donadrand is in disbelief at Fran's prowess, but Klimt is no longer surprised that she massacred a horde of goblins alone. Instead, he asks for more information, which Fran reveals. These circumstances aligning confirms the existence of a dungeon and requires the assembly of a strike force of elite adventurers to handle. Kim invites Fran to the siege and immediately promotes her to rank F due to her compounding achievements. Back in the present, Geralt uses magic blue dildos to repair Fran's little dress, which teacher finds to be pretty neat. Fran is more interested in dungeons and gets some info on them. Essentially, some chaos god decided it would be a good idea to spawn them out of nowhere to mess with mankind. A dungeon begins its infancy as a volleyball, converting the nearest monster to a dungeon master, then building the whole labyrinth based on the master's stats. After getting dressed up and heading back to headquarters, teacher checks out her gains while Fran dissociates. She wishes to take a bath with teacher, but doesn't realize that his true identity is a middle-aged Japanese man. Nell suddenly arrives from the sidelines to scold Fran for bringing a weapon into the bathhouse, after which they discuss the upcoming dungeon raid and partake in kebabs. Apparently, the Night Brigade's leader is a wuss who doesn't want to help clear dungeons, so the adventurers are on their own usually. Teacher reflects on Nell's rage. Being a lone unit isn't normally a problem, but the Adventurers Guild is missing their A-rank ace, Amanda, who is currently away investigating the after effects of Teacher's genocide. The conversation drifts towards the 10 great gods who came from another world and made all the people and things. Their 78 kids went out and did their own stuff as well, and the god of chaos is a woman. The god of war became evil and tried to subjugate all the other gods, but was exploded and yeeted across the whole world, spawning weird little freaks like goblins and orcs. Fran is incapacitated from the informational overload and slaughtering 130 goblins earlier. Teacher reflects on this world while telekinetically stroking Fran's face. The next day, he gets a fresh new fit. It's nice. It also allows teacher to undress himself. Dungeon time, and all the warriors have gathered. Donadron, the highest ranking of the group at the moment, takes charge, informing the strike force of their objectives: find and slay the goblin king and queen, explore the dungeon, and hopefully eliminate the master. Suddenly, they're ambushed by their foe, who unexpectedly sallied out to meet the adventurers on the surface. This result isn't ideal, but it's a good chance to get involved, and Francher runs towards the mouth of the cave, terrifying the goblins with the Boblin Slayer title she recently acquired. This man is saved, but they'd rather not garner too much attention, so jumping through the air and gibbing swathes of goblins with high-level fire magic to get into the cave is the best way to accomplish this, I guess. Donardrondo isn't so sure that letting Fran bulldoze her way into the dungeon alone is a good idea, but it happens anyway. Meanwhile, the master Giro's in delight underneath the silhouette of a giant beast, and that's the end of part 1 of Season 1 of Reincarnated as a Sword. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. I have a Patreon if you really enjoyed the video and want to throw oodles of cash in my direction. That's it, I think. Thanks again.